That sound is an army being saved. Thousands of men stuck outside a town they cannot take, and then they look up and see one of the largest dragons in the world coming to break the siege and save the day. So of course they cheer. Silverwing is theirs, after all. She has been theirs since the day their queen put a rider on her back. But they are wrong to celebrate Silverwing's arrival, and most of them are about to die. Everyone who watched this scene calls it the same thing, the treason of Ulf the White, the drunkard who burned an entire town to the ground because a hightower kicked him awake. And that is true. Ulf did give the order, and he is a traitor to his queen. But there were two of them in the sky that day, and in all the arguing about what Ulf did, almost nobody has stopped to ask the obvious question. Not whether he gave the order, but whether he really could have made Silverwing follow it. Because here is what the show has been telling us for 3 seasons, scene after scene, and almost nobody has put together. Claiming a dragon is not a conquest, it is permission the dragon chooses to grant, for reasons of its own. Ulf White never mastered Silverwing. Those are two different things, and that difference is the whole story. Here is something we know about Silverwing specifically. She has refused an order from the woman who loved her more than anyone alive. So what we want you to see is not whether Silverwing could have refused at Tumbleton, it's why she didn't. We'll start with the moment everybody skips past. Watch Silverwing carefully. She doesn't attack him. She doesn't flee. She lowers her head and she smells him. Then, having decided he's suitable, she lets him near her back. Nobody breaks a dragon in that scene. A very old animal considers a man for as long as she feels like, and then reaches a decision. We've got used to the idea that dragons are claimed by humans, but every single time this show has put a dragon and human bonding on the screen, we have been shown the opposite. Look at Rhaena. She believes she has claimed Sheepstealer. Then at the gullet, he cannot tell friend from enemy, and she cannot make him. She isn't steering a weapon. She's holding on to a wild animal that has agreed to carry her as long as it pleases. And the moment the fire starts, Sheepstealer changes its mind, and Jacaerys Velaryon dies as a result. And then there's the one that should end the debate entirely. Daemon Targaryen, a rider since boyhood, bonded to the same dragon for the whole of his adult life. If absolute control over a dragon exists anywhere in this story, it exists there. And yet, Caraxes goes where Caraxes goes in spite of Daemon's orders. So follow that through. If Daemon Targaryen cannot compel Caraxes, then a drunk out of Flea Bottom who has been a dragon rider for a matter of weeks is not compelling anything at all. Whatever passes between Ulf and Silverwing at Tumbleton, it is not command. It cannot be, because the series has spent 3 seasons telling us as much. Which leaves the question of what it actually is. And to answer that, we go back 70 years, to the only time in recorded history that Silverwing ever said no. Silverwing was Alysanne Targaryen's dragon for more than 50 years. She flew her to her own wedding, to her brother's coronation, to her daughter's childbed. A bond that lasted longer than most Westerosi marriages, longer than most people lived. If there was ever a human being alive who could tell a dragon what to do, it was Alysanne Targaryen, and her dragon was Silverwing. And then she flew north, past White Harbour, past Winterfell, all the way to the end of the world, to the Wall. 3 times she rode Silverwing over Castle Black and pointed her north, and 3 times the dragon turned and went south instead. Silverwing refused to fly beyond the Wall. Writing to Jacaerys afterwards, Alysanne said that Silverwing had never before refused to take her where she wished to go, never. Alysanne, who understood that animal better than anyone has understood one since, ultimately still couldn't control it. The story outlived her. It got told and retold in the North for generations. 70 years on, a Stark tells it to a Targaryen prince standing on top of that ice. To him, it's proof of the darkness that lies beyond the Wall. Now keep in mind what that actually establishes. Not that dragons are mysterious, not that something is waiting beyond the Wall. What it establishes is that Silverwing has a veto. So now let's go and look at what Ulf White was doing at Tumbleton, the least commanding man. Ulf's experience of this war is a series of jobs he gets passed over for. At the Gullet, the largest sea battle of the war, the Blacks send up their dragons and Silverwing is not in the first wave. She and Vermithor arrive late, after the worst of it, after Jace is already dead, and burn off what's left of a fleet that has already done its damage. By Tumbleton, Daemon has stopped pretending. He lays the assault out. He'll burn the battlements himself. Caraxes will cover the van. Roderick Dustin's Northerners go over the wall and open the gate from the inside. Ulf and Silverwing will guard the rear. One of the largest dragons alive, and the plan is to keep her in reserve. Daemon has a good reason, and it becomes the most important sentence in the episode.
Take every care to preserve the town and its people. The realm is watching.
Rhaenyra's entire claim is built on being the ruler who is not a monster, and so the strategy at Tumbleton depends on the Blacks being able to hold their own fire. Then the battle starts, and Ulf is nowhere to be seen. He's not with the Greens who are paying him, nor with the Blacks who he's supposed to be loyal to. Ormond Hightower pulls men off the walls in the middle of a siege to go and search a burning town for one man. Daemon, out in the field, gets the report and cannot process it. He has a very large dragon, he says. How can you not find him? Then we find out he is not even with his dragon. All through the early stages of that battle, the ladders, the oil, the trenches lighting up, Silverwing is out there in the field, saddled and waiting. Nobody is holding her. Nobody could. Her rider is unconscious in a latrine, and she has no orders, no chains, and no earthly reason to be there. She waits anyway. Ask yourself what she's waiting for. I genuinely want to know what you think. They find Ulf eventually.
Worthless! All you had to do was sit on your f***ing dragon!
The single most revealing line anybody speaks in that finale, and it's a throwaway insult. All you had to do was sit on your dragon. Get back on that beast and do as you're told. Ormond is running on the same assumption as everyone else at Tumbleton, that a dragon is a weapon, that a weapon has an owner, and that if you shout at the owner loudly enough, the weapon does what you want. But he's about to find out just how wrong he is. The turn. Before Ulf reaches Silverwing, one of Daemon's men finds him and attempts to deliver his orders.
Sir Ulf, I've orders from Prince Daemon to make certain that you and your dragon are at the river.
He doesn't finish the sentence. A Hightower blade is run across his throat. Then Silverwing goes up, and we're back where we started. The troops have been bleeding against those walls for hours, and the reserve has finally come in. And every man down there believes precisely what Ormond believed, and Daemon believed, and Rhaenyra believed when she put a small folk boy on a dead queen's dragon. That Silverwing is a piece on a board. One word. That's the entire instruction. In a battle that decides the shape of the war, that is the sum total of Ulf White's contribution. And then she burns everything. The men, the town that was supposed to be protected, Ormond Hightower, who bought off her rider, and Roderick Dustin, who was in the act of killing him. From up there, it's hard to tell the difference between a green and a black. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter to Silverwing. Afterwards, everyone tells the same story about it. Corlys says it to Daemon in as many words. Ulf has turned. The town is lost. We are leaving. Everyone talks about Ulf. Nobody says her name. Because the moment you say her name, it stops working as a story about one man's treachery and becomes something far more frightening. So again, here's what really happened at Tumbleton. A creature who has demonstrated on the record that she will refuse an order she doesn't want to carry out, who did it to a queen who adored her, was asked to burn a town full of people. And she didn't refuse. She didn't veer off over the Tully lines the way she veered south over Castle Black. She did not do the one thing we know for a fact she is capable of doing. She burned the Greens and the Blacks, soldiers and innocents, because she was willing to burn them. Which means Daemon's order, take every care to preserve the town and its people, was merely a wish or a preference. The restraint at Tumbleton was never his to give, and it was never Ulf's either. So Tumbleton isn't the story of a drunk who betrayed his queen. So the next time you watch that scene, watch her instead of him. Watch her wait in an empty field. Watch her take off on one word with no supervision at all. And when the men below start cheering, remember that she is the only one in that valley who knows what is coming next. Then sit with the question House of the Dragon has been building since a Stark told a story on top of the wall. What is at the other end of that ice? That Silverwing would refuse a queen she loved rather than go near it, and yet Tumbleton was acceptable. Tell me in the comments, do you think Silverwing chose Tumbleton? Or do you think a dragon that size simply does what dragons do, and the notion of choice is something we tell ourselves to make it bearable? And what do you make of Vermithor turning up where he had no business being? Thanks for watching, and if you want more of these, then hit subscribe.